Our question is, what are the functions of perceptual awareness? We're just starting with this question, so let me introduce you to a simple idea. Please identify this here. What is this? That's right, it's a letter K. Fabulous. Here's a thought. I'll call it the simple hypothesis. Perceptual awareness enables you to identify and report the letter. I say to you, what's this? You're kind of looking at me a bit weird there. Some of you were like, what's he on? But you think this is trivial, but in a way, it's not trivial at all. You have this marvelous ability to identify objects, like letters, the letter K. How do you do that? Well, one simple thought, the simple hypothesis, is that it's your perceptual awareness that enables you to identify and report the letter. The simple hypothesis was questioned a long time ago by a researcher called Sidis, Boris Sidis, as it happens. And what he did was very simple. He placed subjects at, he showed subjects letters like I have, but he placed them at such a distance from these symbols that the character was really just out of their range of vision, although so they said. So the subjects reported to Sidis that they saw only a blurred, dim outline. So perhaps I haven't got that quite right yet. Maybe I need to go further away. It depends, of course, on your screen a little bit, whether this is going to get you the right effect. And his subjects often complained, Sidis' subjects often complained, that they couldn't see anything at all, even the spot where the symbol was supposed to be. But when Sidis asked his subjects, or really required his subjects, to make a guess, God, what is that symbol? What is that symbol? Perhaps one of these you can hardly see. If you'd seen that first, you might have been making a wild guess. Sidis pushed his symbols to make a guess. They tended to be correct. They were certainly well above chance. That's surprising because, of course, it seems to conflict with the simple hypothesis. It seems like, this is Sidis' view, his subjects weren't aware of which letter they were seeing, but they could nevertheless identify and report which letter it was. Now, Sidis offered a rather radical conclusion here. He suggested that these results demonstrate the presence within us of a secondary subwaking self that perceive things which the primary waking self is unable to get at. Now, I think that's a way of thinking about these findings which just adds to the mystery. It's sort of the opposite of what we want from an explanation. From an explanation, we want something that takes something that was relatively unexpected and gives us a sensible framework for thinking about it and generating new intelligible predictions. The idea of the secondary subwaking self is going to be very hard to do that. But I mention this for a good reason. And of course, I think very few researchers today would be happy with the idea, first of all, that it's really sensible to theorize about the self very much at all. But even if we do theorize about the self, we'll come to that later in the course, of course, the idea that there are two is not making things more comprehensible, but rather less. Still, I mention this for a good reason. I take it that what's behind Sidis' interpretation, this is very interesting, very thoughtful researcher here. What's behind this secondary subwaking self can only be the assumption that it's only when you are acting on the basis of your awareness of things that the actions are really yours. Why would Sidis postulate a secondary subwaking self when he discovered that you could identify things without being perceptually aware of them? Presumably because he identified himself with the things that he did on the basis of his perceptual awareness of them. Now, I think that's a view that other people have suggested as well. Whether or not you think that view is right, I'm not recommending the view to you. I think it illustrates the strength of the simple hypothesis. What's in favour of the simple hypothesis is that it seems that people hold on to this idea that the perceptual awareness is driving their actions and their reports to such an extent that when you take away the perceptual awareness, they want to say, that isn't me anymore, that's somebody else, that's somebody else. Wow, okay. So I think the simple hypothesis is reasonably compelling, and yet we have found a rather simple objection to it. The objection is that Sidis' subjects are not perceptually aware of the letter, but can identify and report it. So perhaps this is evidence for the possibility of perception without awareness.